breaking news. We have breaking news. Donald Trump has just issued a slew of pardons, including allies like Duncan Hunter, a former congressman from California, Chris Collins, a former congressman from New York, George Papadopoulos, his former foreign policy advisor, and Alexander Van der Zwaan. Seems very clear that the president has rolled out these pardons as part of what he has been saying that he was going to do for quite a while politically. We don't know at this point if there's going to be any sort of pushback or what the consequences could be. And quite frankly, we have no reason to believe that these are the only pardons that President Trump is going to roll out in these coming days. Our hope is that going forward, we'll have some sort of assessment. And I want to take this back to the team. Now that we've heard about these brand new pardons that Donald Trump has just brought out, now he's saying, hey, look, I'm going to take care of all my friends. Look, I'll start with you, Jennifer. Do you believe that this sort of thing actually is about loyalty, or is it about Trump just flexing his power?
Well, I think for Donald Trump, it's about both. But for our country, it puts us in a very dangerous position. We know that with Donald Trump, he starts small and goes bigger and bigger with everything he does that is an outrage. So if you look at these, and as bad as they are, and figure and look at them as this is the first step or the first big rollout of pardons from the president, and he's still got a month to go before he's going to leave office, it should make the American people, justifiably concerned about what is the second round going to include. Who will be included in the third round? How dangerous how bad is this going to get? And we've seen this from him throughout this whole process since the election. He's ignored what's happened with Russia. He has given up leadership on the pandemic. Seeing him roll out this list of pardons, it just should be the people should be asking themselves, what's next?
So, Michelle, a lot of these people we've been hearing about throughout the Trump administration, basically these names kind of rolled out like the usual suspects with slightly less 90s clothing. But the fact of the matter is that it's a reflection of the differences that we saw with Joe Biden earlier today. Joe Biden's like, look, I'm not going to use the Justice Department. I'm not going to use pardons my own way. Do you think that after Trump has pardoned these people, is that going to increase Joe Biden's desire to say, hey, look, I'm going to stay away from the Justice Department? Or might he encourage his new AG to say, hey, look, even if these people have been pardoned, we still need to engage investigations of past behavior, of bad behavior in the Trump administration?
I don't think he's going to encourage his AG to do that. And he's already said that he won't encourage his AG to do that. But he's also said that if, his AG finds evidence of criminal behavior, that he won't stop them. And so I think it's very important for whoever is appointed as AG that they see some of these pardons really as admissions of guilt. I mean, one of the things that I think we'll find out soon, whether or not Donald Trump is going to issue some kind of blanket pardon of Rudy Giuliani. And there's right now, we know, an SDNY, or at least there's been reporting that there's this SDNY investigation into Rudy Giuliani. I think it's very, very important that whoever comes into that position not let Donald Trump's, kind of promiscuous flinging around of these get out of free cards be the final word on the corruption that we've endured over the last 4 years.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.